joined by a very special guest, 16-year NHL veteran, owner, CEO of Verbero Hockey, Andy Sutton. Andy, thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
So, obviously we're going to get into your career and talk about it a little bit, but my first question off the top is, what made you start this new company, Verbero Hockey? It's been out there for a long time now. I actually have a pair of shoulder pads that I wear from your company. I love them. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you started everything and why you started it.
Well, it's an evolution like most things, but if I'm going to sum it up, I started working after I retired from the game officially in 2014. I started working for a multi-brand hockey company in Southern California. And while I was there, I was part of some acquisition strategies and made some investments into some of those acquisitions. Right around the time COVID hit, I had an opportunity to put everything to call and leave that company. And part of the exit strategy was to take the Verbero brand with me. Verbero's been around since 2008. It paid into the NHL for 3 seasons, representing players like Cam Atkinson and others. And the brand had some good DNA. But then I would say more than anything, when I took it over in December of 2019, the intention was very specific, after a lifetime spent in the game. Obviously, I got a chance to play at a high level for a long time and learned a lot about products, a lot about hockey, certainly, and was able to apply that knowledge. I worked, my education at school was in engineering. So I got to work in a lot of product development, intellectual property development, both in the hockey sector and outside sectors. So I really got to learn a lot about that side of business in the first handful of years after I retired from the NHL, and then ultimately, working as president of this small company, mid-sized company, I was really able to wear a lot of hats and learn a lot about the retail side of things, a lot more about the brands. Certainly the products and the range of products, and really what was imperative. I wanted to solve some really fundamental problems. I wanted to solve the problems of access. So we created proprietary team store software out of the gates. I wanted to obliterate the status quo from a sales rep standpoint. So we let our reps sell to anyone, anywhere. We removed territorial exclusivity, which flipped the industry on its head, because it really allowed Verbero to spread into the nooks and crannies, both in the US, Canada, and even in Europe for that matter, which really helped us from a sales standpoint, certainly from a marketing standpoint. We do a lot on the front end of things, sort of standardizing information. So we make it really easy for sales reps or ambassadors or affiliates to partner with Verbero. We essentially equip them with everything that they need to present to a potential customer, I guess. And in that regard, we've made that easy. And then from a product standpoint, I wanted a completely uncomplicated brand, best in class product category, product per category is really what we do. So like the stick is very symbolic for me of who Verbero is, right? So our stick is one of the lightest on the market. It's a beast. It's a workhorse. It's durable. At the same point in time, our full price retail is $249 on that stick. Well, the competitor equivalent stick, top of the line, is now over $400 in some regards. So when you look at it from that standpoint, we're already bringing tremendous value. Go above and beyond that, right? The backbone of Verbero, and it wasn't this way before, the backbone of our program is our custom program. Through the team stores, our apparel, all of our game wear, bag, custom glove options, custom stick graphics, hats, you name it. We have the program dialed. So when you become a partner with Verbero and you access our custom goods, you automatically become part of a team rewards program, of which you get the same stick at $159, whether you're a beer leaguer or you play in a pro league that we affiliate with. So it's really about supporting hockey people, great products without compromise, and certainly without having to pay out the nose for things. It's unnecessary. And I give the example all the time, having worked in the industry now, like the difference between a $200 retail skate and a $1,200 retail skate might be like $50 or $60 at manufacturing level. So why should the end customer pay $1,000 for something that costs the brand $50 or $60? the reason is because the system's flawed. The Bauers, the CCMs of the world, the way that they market all the athletes that they pay so that you think their products are great. I'll put our products up against those guys any day of the week. We don't pay into that style of marketing. We're more in the vein of word of mouth. We're more in the vein of connecting with grassroots hockey, which is why I do so many podcasts and tell our story. It's what they don't do. It's what they're not prepared to do anymore. You know, their model is all about suppression of retail. It's not about making the game better. It's not about making it more accessible. It's not about connecting more deeply as partners. And that's really the nature of Verbero and why we're so different than our competitors in an industry that's so swarmed and smothered with sameness of just crap, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's so many things out there. There's so many products out there, so many different things. And, that's what I like about the company. I was reading up on it. And you said growing the game. And one of the things I noticed, you guys partnered with women's hockey. I mean, that's a big thing, growing the game. And, you have Blake Bolden is on board. And, I'm wondering if you guys are going to be involved. And I don't know if you can answer this now or it's going to come out in a press release, but we have the new Professional Women's Hockey League. Are you guys going to be associated with that at all?
Look, we've had conversations with those guys. Nothing would make me happier. I know that our program is completely different and unique. And what I presented to them is exactly what I just told you.
Yep.
Making custom options and really heavily branding the players and the teams. Multiple jersey sets, third jerseys, limited release jerseys, building it all into the program. And this is a situation where in this industry, a lot of times there's stagnation. And they haven't fallen over sideways to get in this deal, despite the fact that we're willing to essentially, market their players in a way that nobody else will touch. So my hope is that we get the deal. I have a really good friend over there that's at the forefront of things. And if he gets a chance to hear this, I'd really love to re-engage on the conversations because I know we can do a better job than the competition. It would mean the world to me. The way I see it, and a lot of companies, might look at doing this or that because they think it's marketable or they think that society thinks it's a good idea. I could give a shit about that, to be honest with you. Like I want Verbero to be with hockey people that get it. And again, if you're in the family, we're going to take care of you. So like figure it out. You can keep going down the same road you're going down, like trying to stuff your head in this box with these, there's all this branding that you're used to consuming, or you can really look at what's actually possible. It's just so much more partnership focused, and it's so much more current and prevalent to work directly, right? We see it. Amazon, that people want to buy from Amazon, the way that they interact with their customer base, the immediacy of what you need, all of the customization that occurs in almost every product now, and how obsessed people are with it. That's who we are. That's the audience that we're speaking to. Express yourself, right? Whatever you are, if you're a beer leaguer or a pro, like let's figure out all the ways you can express yourself in a way that's unique and that looks beautiful. Bring beauty to the uniforms. I mean, everyone's tired of the two-stripe uni.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's
Yeah,
ridiculous. We're sublimating gloves, for goodness sake, like the basic patterns of gloves, and tying that in with patterns on jerseys and in pant shells and down into the socks. And we've got blade tech for blades, right down to everything you wear under your gear and the way you travel, the way you show up to games. I mean, it's all an expression, and there's really nothing better than like the uniformity and pride that people have in their team. Like you see it behind you. You're so proud of your Devils,
yeah,
and the players that played there, and that you have legends up on that board. Many, all of which I played against for a long time. These guys are as iconic as the brand itself, and that's what it becomes in the end. You see it in the Air movie with Jordan. A shoe's only a shoe until someone steps in it and makes it something different, right? And that's the same thing the same way we see it from a customization standpoint.
That's really good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that, because when we talk about, you hear the term grow the game, change the game, all this stuff. You guys are really doing it, and doing it at the grassroots level. Like you said, teams want to have, custom stuff. Well, I've seen it, like the jerseys now. I've seen Verbero jerseys out there. The guys go to tournaments with these jerseys, and it's great because it's different. It's not the
right.
with the same old boring thing that we always see. And that's what I like about this company, and you guys are just I think really getting it and understanding what the marketing and growing the game really
Yeah.
means.
I appreciate the kind words. You know, we're fighting the good fight there, and we really feel like we've got a pulse on what's needed. I feel like we've perfected the brand DNA, and that's the most important piece of anything. Like we're flailing in this country because of a lack of identity, you know, politically and other things. Like we don't have a lack of identity. We know exactly who we are and exactly what we do and how we do it. And we built all kinds of automations around this custom process too, to be able to communicate with the customer, sort of the DoorDash of custom products and custom services. I mean, it's a natural extension. I want the customer experience to be better than it's used to being. You know, just because we're in hockey doesn't mean you have to go to, you know, the local hockey shop to get this or that. You know, it's or work with a local hockey shop. I mean, we do everything. We have a team that we built around every aspect of it. Like I've spent so much time and resources, quite frankly, on the customer experience here. Like whether it's the automation software that we've created that interfaces with our manufacturers and updates the customer in real time throughout the production process, or it's our customer service team that triages requests in real time and gives the customers and our sales reps what they need to be successful, while also like taking the load off of these teams and these team managers. That's the thing that most people don't understand. There are people that involved with every association that buys custom goods that do a shit ton of stuff. And we've essentially taken all of that off of their plates. We do everything. We do all the heavy lifting. We work with teams to schedule a calendar with them that ties directly into fundraising. We give the delta between cost of goods and retail for essentially third jersey programs that we host as fundraisers. I mean, we put over $50,000 back in the South Carolina Gamecocks back pocket last year through this campaign. That's real money. That's real money that these kids can go out and utilize to have the best year. Because whether it's collegiate hockey, it's the NHL, your beer league, whatever it is. My fundamental belief is that everybody's out there trying to do the best they can, trying to have the best experience, and hopefully it's a really memorable one. So that's never lost on us. You know, if it's your last year, I want you to look good. I want you to have a good stick. It's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, it is. It's as your boys would say on Missing Curfew, play like a national leaguer, look like a national leaguer, right?
100%. Like we used to joke about that all the time, you know. And I was a guy when I played, like I wore velvet jackets all the time, like just because I
Yes.
loved like the opportunity just to screw around and have fun, you know, and wear something silly. All the guys are suited and booted now. I'm not saying I was the pioneer, but like definitely like to push the limits. And you can see the expression now. These guys come into the rink. I mean, it's not like Patrick Mahomes coming in with shades on and stuff
No.
necessarily, but they got the fancy hats and the funky suits and stuff like that. It's really fun. I enjoy it. But you can see the expression just sort of like happening in real time in hockey, and how and it's social media and it's like individualized marketing that allows this to catapult, because obviously these guys have platforms of their own, and anytime they do something notable, people talk about them, their following grows and they make more money. It's like, it's fundamental. Social media following is now going to be a variable when you go to look at signing players. Like, how many followers does he have? Oh, good, we're going to take him first overall for sure because he's got a following. So it's starting for these kids. Look at Bedard. I mean, it's starting for these kids at an early age, and they build this sort of fundamental following that makes them more potent than they even are on the ice, by sort of their ability to connect off the ice.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, social media, man, and I think that's a big thing. You look at Trevor Zegras in Anaheim. I mean, that kid's like all over the place. I mean, future, the NHL does it right, man. That kid's the face of the NHL right now, along with Jack Hughes, all those guys looking good. And you mentioned it, man. Like, one of the guys you say look good, right? One of my favorite guys to see coming in the rink, David Pastrnak. Let's see what crazy suit he's got coming in next time.
I love it. It's the best. It really is. It's so fun, and it brings some personality to. And I say this often. Like, I think in general, a lot of the hockey industry is extremely boring. People just satisfied with like the status quo, wearing some musty, dingy old jersey, or never getting a new pair of gloves. You got holes in the palm. Like, come on, man, like get off your wallet, spend $100 and get a brand new pair of gloves. Better yet, get a custom pair of gloves that your rest of your team can wear, so you guys can look like pros, even though you're playing whatever level you're playing. It's like you don't have to suffer, and the cost is not prohibitive. Like we have fair costs; they're approachable. We can outfit any team and make you look like a pro for fair cost. So from that standpoint, okay, how much fun do you want to have? Like that's the next question, right? Like, just what do you want to do? Like, how crazy you want to get? And oh, by the way, like you're in the family now. Here's what you get access to. Like, don't buy your tape laces and wax somewhere else. Like, we've got it here. We've got your jerseys, your practice jerseys, your off ice apparel, your hats. Like, what else do you need? Your backpacks, like player bags. I mean, there's really not too many products that we need. It's a relatively simple category in that regard. And then from there, like we just really focus on never stopping trying to have the best product per category, whether it's our stick. We have a 335 gram stick that we've been wear testing for about a year now, and we haven't brought it to market for two reasons. One, the 350G is so durable and well balanced. I'm not even willing to compromise it. And two, I don't think it feels better. I think it's almost too light. Like, I think you have to have some weight in your hands where you have some sense of like where the stick is in space. So I'm not even sure that there's not a threshold here. And I think for me, like for our customer, I want to say, look, like our stick's a stud. It's at a great price, and it's also going to be durable for you. So like kind of check every box, and it can be custom. Like for really low minimums, we do custom graphics for teams. It's super low minimums. So I mean, it's like we're not prohibitive in any way, and we can have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the most part about playing hockey. It's a game. It's having fun. You want to look good. And I was noticing on the website, you guys are into helmets and customizing the helmets and getting it more safe. Any updates on that, like with concussion in relations to concussions and keeping all the players safe on the ice?
Yeah, well, we have access to the most protective helmet in the game. It's hands down the most protective. It's an investment, but again, like this is where the hockey industry needs to, pardon the pun, but get turned on its head. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And there's a certain point where like the lack of innovation from the other brands isn't enough to like mirror what's possible. We have a product that is completely 100% custom 3D printed and to your specifications, and it can also be customized. It's not even in the same universe of products, yet it's challenging to have somebody want to spend $500 to protect their head. Like, I'm sorry, you spend $300 to $400 on a stick, but you won't spend $500 to protect your head. And by the way, like this helmet's not going to deform. It's completely non-deforming materials, full custom, way more protective, as I said, better ventilation, like all this stuff. It's about changing the stigmas, and that's why I take these pods and tell our story, because the more people I can get connected to our story and who are like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. That makes sense. From a guy that like has been around and understands the industry, then hopefully like with every turn we gain, new people that see things the way that we see things. And then it's just about working together. Like, what do you need? Like, or what are you looking for? Are you looking for custom sticks? It's not a take all with us. It's like, how can we help? Like, what can we do? Like, how can we help your program be better? Help your podcast be better? Do you want to advertise? Do you want to be a rep and help us sell? Like, we've sold on many podcasts that come on as partners, Missing Curfew included, that make referrals to us to teams and leagues and associations, and we do everything. So like, it's the same thing for you guys. There's no limitation to the extents with which we try to partner.
That's awesome. I mean, that's great to hear. Definitely. I mean, look, for me, I love the gloves. I love the colors. When I first saw the colors, the neon, the black, I'm like, oh yeah, this is all right. Let's have some fun here. Like different color schemes, like different things, customization. Like I was telling one of my friends, I was like, one day I actually want to, because in grade school you used to draw that S. I was like, yo, I'm gonna put that in my gloves one day. And I'm like, I bet you this company could do it. I bet you Verbero could do it if I really wanted to.
100%. We could. I mean, I don't give enough shout out to my team. but my team is incredible, you know, and my team services manager is Jake Stronach, and he works with every team and every detail of what teams and leagues and associations need. You know, Evelyn Pronovos is our graphic design lead, and she's an absolute beast. I mean, she is an absolute beast of a human, and she crushes it and creates all kinds of incredible custom looks. She's made the last 5 jerseys and jersey designs for the Shorzy show. I mean, she did that herself, and they took her designs and indoctrinated them into the show. I mean, it's really incredible. People need to understand this stuff. I mean, this is really avant-garde stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. And again, it's a different way of marketing. It's a different way of growing the game. And it's frankly a lot, like you said, a lot of people need to start thinking outside the box. You guys are getting it. And I'm glad to have you on the show and talk about it, talk about Verbero. You mentioned it before. You played with some of the boys on the wall, some of the guys. I'm against them. Just any, you know, what can you say? I know everybody who listens to the show, we have different listeners from everywhere. We got a Jersey guys, we got people on the West Coast, but, you know, a guy like Scott Niedermeyer, Brodeur, what was it like going up against those guys?
Well, I'll tell you sort of more fundamentally, you know, because I started in the league in '98, right? So you can trace back the Devils' successes,
Stevens.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and beyond the players, and this is what the one thing that resounded throughout the league even was the culture that was built in New Jersey, the culture. And I was fortunate enough to get to play under Jacques Lemaire in Minnesota, and Minnesota did right was bring the right guys in to build a culture that still endures today. But New Jersey had the most incredible culture, and then their best players were the biggest representatives of what it meant to be professional and to play a certain way and to play like robots, right? And these guys were like, they didn't make mistakes. And then they had Marty back there, like if shit went wrong, you had the best goalie in the world there to save the day. You know, they just had it right, you know, and they really did. I don't know like how it carried forth today. I haven't tracked that enough or talked to enough of the players, but man, they really had it going. You know, Lou is a mastermind in that regard. There's no doubt about it. He knows how to build that type of culture and then support it and insulate it with the right kind of people.
You mentioned you played for Jacques Lemaire. Obviously, he helped the Devils their first Stanley Cup, and he was there through the growing pains. You know, what was it like playing under Jacques? I mean, I know what he was as a player. I mean, I didn't see him. I saw all footage, but, you know, what was it like playing for Jacques?
It was incredible. It was like in retrospect now, looking back, it's as if like Yoda was your coach.
Oh,
like he literally is like Yoda. Like he's like unflappable and like funny and sarcastic, but in a way like that's just understated and like so intelligent about the game and spoke it in such a way that like communicated it with humor and made it easy. Like I can remember Marian Gaborik and as a rookie in Minnesota when I was there, and Gabby was like probably the fastest, the quickest player that I'd ever seen. Like the level of explosivity was just like, you were just like, are you kidding me? So he was fast and he was in a hurry. Well, Jacques in video, he'd pause it. He'd be like, Marianne, he's like, I want to tell you here, like sometimes this is where you sit back, you sit right here, you have a cup of coffee, you wait for this to happen or that to happen. He'd say that like in front of the team in a way that just like it's like disarming, you know, and at the same point, you know, you heard what he said, like you're just like, and to tell someone like Marianne, like, hey, save energy. Here's how you're going to save energy so that when we need a goal late in the game, like you're going to have it to burn, you know, like so smart, you know, in that way, or like just the way that the forecheck was established. Or he would say like in the defensive zone, he's like, if it's a 50-50 puck, he's like, let the offensive team go first. Like, why would you want to get on the wrong side of the pile? He's like, you know, you get on the defensive side and then come in and support that. And then let's break it out as a team, because the most amount of guys they're going to have down below the goal line is 3. So we can have 5 guys down there against 3 breaking that puck out, because oftentimes those defensemen stay back, both of them. Right. So like just simple stuff. And he really like, you know, everyone does that shit now, but like, you know, at the time he was head and shoulders, I think, above everybody else.
Definitely a pioneer coaching and playing, and just unbelievable what he did. And I saw you also played under Daryl Sutter too, another legendary coach. Again, same question, but can you compare the two? Were they similar, different? How were they, similar? How are they different? Little quirks, things like that.
Yeah, so Daryl is a completely different style coach. Daryl is what I think you'd call it more of a player's coach. He rode the emotions of the players. So like if you like stuck up for a teammate and got in a scrap, whether you got your ass kicked or not, like he'd come over and like hug you, like frothing at the mouth, like he's so like appreciative of what you did for the team, and he'd always say, one guy's in, five guys in. Like he wanted to just swarm the opponent. You mess around with one of our players, all five guys are gonna be in there creating chaos. And he had that sort of like more militant mind of it all. And if he was mad or frustrated, like he lost his marbles, right? Like Jacques never yelled, so there were different guys, and Daryl wore his heart on his sleeve. And he was a really important factor for me early on. Like I learned a lot of great stuff from him, and just what he expected like you to carry like as a professional, and how he expected you to play, and how he expected you to stick up for your teammates and or stick up for your style of play, which I had to figure out how to do early on. I was only able really to stay as long as I did because I was really able to sort of carve out a niche for myself, and he was a big part of that. I think like he definitely gave me an opportunity to be tougher than I probably was when I came in.
Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, you always hear great stories about Daryl. I actually had Jamie McLennan on the podcast over the at the end of the season, and he was talking about Daryl and just what he did for his career too. And you mentioned Gabrick is one of the fastest guys you played with. How about Kovalchuk and Ilya Kovalchuk and Danny Heatley down in Atlanta? Those guys were flying too.
They were, and prior to the Dan Snyder accident, like I can remember just being bewildered there, watching those two boys go to work, and they had so much talent. The game was easy for them, and they were having so much fun. We weren't winning enough games, but the guys were racking up points like nobody's business. The game was easy for them in that regard. So, and then watching the maturity of that over time, just seeing the players they turned into, and both epic veterans who had so much success, and just despite all the barriers and obstacles along the way, like just turned into incredible professionals and figured out how to do amazing things. I mean, it's just like looking back on. I remember I'm in my what, fourth year at this point in time. I get traded to Atlanta. And Danny's I think he's in his first season or like partway through his second season. So like, but he was the guy in my first practice that came up and crashed into me in the corner, in one of the first drills. He's like, "What's up, Sutsy baby? We getting it going or what?" Like, just like went out of his way to make me feel comfortable. And I was just like, wow, this is a 22 or 23-year-old kid or whatever he was, like that just gets it. He's a natural born leader, and Kobe was just like, I don't know if I played with a player that wanted to score more than Kobe. Like, I don't think anybody has a thirst for scoring and dominating in that way more than Kobe, and this just the skill, the way he moved the puck, and the way he could shoot it in motion. Like, just there weren't very many other players that I played with like that, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, when he was with New Jersey, you could see every time he scored the emotion on his face. He just wanted it so bad.
So bad. Bull in a china shop, and he was built that way too. Like, just like so powerful, just naturally powerful. And he couldn't go around you. He tried to go through you. It's just like he wasn't not afraid to drive through the middle with traffic to get a shot off or do something. He was a special one, no doubt.
And you played for another Stanley Cup winner, right? Bob Hartley too, correct?
I did, yeah. And Bob, I say this all the time, and Bob always gets mixed reviews. I know that, and I don't think he cares about it. Bob does things his way. Bob's had success at every single level he's ever been at. And Bob was extremely instrumental in my career. When Bob came into Atlanta, he had meetings with every player, and Bob said to me, he said, "Satsi," he's like, "You supposed to have a lot of potential in this league." He said, "You haven't shown shit yet." He said, we're gonna find out if you can play." He's like, "I'm gonna play you 30 minutes a night, and we're going to figure out if you can play the game." Right. And so like he did that, and whether we got scored on or something happened, I was right back on the ice against Ovechkin and all those guys for a solid 4 years in a row. I was playing like over 30 minutes a night under Bob. and it was unbelievable. Atlanta, we were fighting to, to build that franchise and to set that culture, and it was happening. And we got first in the Southeast Division that year in 2007, and then we ran into the Michael Nylander and the Rangers and couldn't get the puck off of them for 4 games, and they embarrassed us. But it was the program, the association was definitely on the right trajectory under Bob at that time. I think it just, what people don't understand is how much things have to fall in line for it to work. That's why it's the hardest professional trophy to win. I mean, it's just to make it to the dance and then make it through 4 rounds of just absolute attrition and figure out how to do that and come out of that with a victory in the end is just, it's something to behold. So like people that are able to do that, certainly some people get lucky and they get, they fall into that experience, but most of the time it's just pure magic.
Yeah, they say, I think I saw Roenick say in an interview, yeah, I got there 92, didn't get back. Like, it's that hard to, like, some guys get their rookie year, they win a Stanley Cup, and then they never get back. It's so crazy.
Oh, but Perry and Getzlaf. I mean, look at that. I mean, they would have probably thought they were going to win 5 Stanley Cups when they got started, especially with that team they had in Anaheim. I mean, it was an absolutely insane team, and they never got back. They never got back. 15 years later, they never got back.
I think Perry went 3 straight years with a team, but didn't win, which is crazy to think. Like, guy went to 3 cups. And then Maroon, there's Patty Maroon winning 3 straight cups with two different teams. Unbelievable what these guys do.
It is unbelievable. It really is.
Like, I always say this, the NHL is my favorite sport. I grew up just watching hockey, love the game, love being around the game, listening to stories and talking with guys and like Andy, like yourself. And you mentioned Ovechkin, you played against Crosby as well. I mean, that's the era right now. Like, we're moving away from that era to the McDavid Matthews era. But what can you say about like playing against those guys and what you saw on the ice and probably 2 best players in the world at that time and maybe still are, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, really, when I look back on it. I caught a piece of Wayne Gretzky at the end. I got to play against Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby as a rookie. I got to play Alex Ovechkin 8 times a year for probably almost 6 seasons when I was in Atlanta. So I got to play against he and Backstrom and the support cast that they had there. And I mean, there's so many amazing people that I got to play with and against over the years, and I have such a massive appreciation for all of it, and really at every level, whether it was an opponent that we battled against relentlessly and hated at the time, or somebody I played with, or coaches I had. I'm so thankful for the journey. It was just it was such an incredible experience, and I could go on and on at every turn, every team that I played on. Like, there was just so many amazing things that happened. So many incredible players, like either winding down or winding up, or in between. Like, it's just, it's just such a dynamic journey.
Yeah, I bet it is. And, you caught the pre 2004-05 lockout. You started, like you said, late 90s, early 2000s. Obviously we had the rule changes in 2005, 2006, even more rule changes later on as well. What can you say and tell the fans that how the game has changed from when you started till now, or through the time you retired from the NHL?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's pretty easy to track if you think about it, like what happened out of the 04-05 lockout, like with the obstruction, and really all that it was saying was like, we want the game to be less encumbered and be faster, right? So then speed becomes the weapon, and then you take out the red line, and it allows fast breaks, and now defensemen have their face against the glass all the time, and you need defensemen that can essentially skate it out of the zone, because that guy's so valuable now, and make that still, that good first pass is so important, but the guy that can actually like evade a forecheck and like make a play to get it out of the zone becomes like one of the most valuable players on the team. I think then beyond that standpoint, like, I think and really, I was probably the guinea pig for it, getting suspended, 3 times in one year, my final year, with regards to headshots and, illegal body checks, really sort of again, further freeing up the players and putting more emphasis on the long-term health of players, which I'm actually really thankful for, despite the way I played. The game's in a better place because of that. And you're seeing fighting. You're seeing what's happening now with what happened in the Q, and other leagues are going to follow suit. I mean, how can you say that the head cannot be the principal point of contact in a body check, but I'm going to let you bare knuckle fight at center ice in front of 20,000 standing fans? It doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive. It's illogical. At the same point in time, like, this is two sides of the same coin for me. I made a living, and a lot of players made a living, and the game was good when you could police from within. It seems like they've mostly removed that now. So what they're saying now is to the referees, like, manage this so it doesn't get out of hand. And what they're saying to the governing bodies, like George Peros, like, hey, George, like, make it so players pay the price if they mess around and they don't adhere to the rules. So in that regard, like, I think it's made the game where a lot of players don't, like, there's really not much fear anymore. Like,
Right.
you're not really that worried about, like, me coming through neutral zone or Nick Cronwall or like any of the other guys. There's a few guys that still do it, but it's different, because if you get it wrong, it's such an expensive cost, and there's not really too many players, Truba maybe and a couple others that have figured out a way to prey on these guys. Because I mean, I watch them skate through neutral zone and into the zone now, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, I want to go back and play so bad, because there's just like everyone's like got their head down, they're all trying to toe drag the puck, and like, there's just not enough guys that are targeting that type of hit anymore. But I do think the game's in a good place. When I go watch a game now, and I sit down pretty much only as a fan now, I don't have any allegiance. That's what happens when you play for too many teams. But I really just sit down and I appreciate the skill level that's gone through the roof. There's, from first to fourth line now, everybody flies, everyone can rip it, everyone can make plays. I mean, it's good in that regard. The defenseman, same way. Like, there's really no weak links. There aren't tough guys that can't skate. There aren't defensemen that are pure meat. There's just, you've got more of a uniform mix of players, which in a way is good for those of us that like miss the old style game. It probably lacks a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's probably the rub right there. That's probably the main stance.
Yeah, no, but then we see it, like, regular season hockey and playoff hockey are totally different, because come the
Yeah,
playoffs, it's like banging, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, I thought you couldn't do all this stuff, and then, hey, the little clutching and grabbing come back, but
yeah,
like we said before, comes back to, it's the hardest trophy to win in all sports for a reason.
it is. It's attrition, and I I think that we should try to hybridize it somehow so that the style is the same, because I mean, the Maple Leafs can't dominate the regular season and get punted in the first or second round every year. Like, it just does it just goes to show you like how different the regular season and the playoffs are. Like, even Tampa from that regard, or whoever else, like, Boston this year. I mean, you can't lose 7 games or whatever the hell they lost all year and then lose 4 games, essentially almost in a row to a team that barely made it to the playoffs. Like, that doesn't make any sense. The law of averages, that should never happen, right?
Yeah.
Unless variables have changed. Like, that's the only way something like that happens. Boston Bruins didn't lose 4 out of 5 games all year long, so why would it happen in the playoffs? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know, like, it is a touchy subject when it comes to that, and also the Department of Player Safety. I get, like, as much as people get on them, and you could be a fan and try to analyze, look, it's a tough job. I don't think anybody wants that job, because it's so difficult, because everybody's coming from everywhere, and Paros does the best job he can.
He does. I've had conversations with George while we've been playing golf about it, like, just asking him what it's like. And it's a very hard job, because there's always some subjectivity to it, right? It's not 100% black and white. It's more about what's fundamental, right? And George is good at that. I mean, he's so intelligent. People don't really know that about George. Like, he's so intelligent, and he has it in a great spot for where the game is today. I think he's done an amazing job.
That's good to hear. And before we get you out of here, just when you do watch games, like, when you sit down, upcoming season, guys you like to watch the most, or like you said, you have no allegiances, but when you do get to a game, who you looking forward to the most watching?
Well, so I grew up a Maple Leafs fan. Like I
Yeah.
grew up just outside of Toronto, and my dad is a rabid fan, has been his whole life. So in a lot of regards, like I'm trying to become a Leaf fan. The problem is I hated them like probably the most of any team during the course of my career because they're just think they're the coolest team ever, and I think they still have some of that going on, and I actually think that's their Achilles heel. But at the same point in time, like I really enjoy watching them and watching Austin Matthews and watching Mitch Marner, just like what that guy's able to do, like to sort of gel that team together, and the just the way Austin Matthews can dominate in all ends of the rink, like lead in takeaways, block shots, like goals, assists, like time on ice. Like he's unbelievable. Connor McDavid is worth the price of admission. I mean, it's like watching a video game, and obviously, Draisaitl gets looked over a lot, but I mean the two are a Gretzky Curry punch. I mean, it's like that type of sweetness. Nathan McKinnon is arguably like probably one of the best power forwards that's ever played the game. There's Cale Makar
Oh,
is just magic. I mean, it's just insane to watch him, what he's capable of out there, and the way that he can move his body. My former partner Eric Carlson, I always love seeing what he's
oh.
up to. I mean, he's just so Eric Carlson. I mean, there's no what else you gonna say about him.
Yeah,
I
exactly. He's
mean,
Carlson, man.
yeah, he's
And I'm
Carlson,
so
man.
happy. I'm so happy he had such a great year last year because of the
Yeah,
injury
me
that he
too.
had,
Me
and he
too. Me
comes
too.
back. Now you bring up Carlson. He's in Pittsburgh now. The big trade. He's gonna work out fine there, right? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to work out fine. I mean, look, I guess the question is, and I played till I was 38. It's like when you get in the latter years, what's it going to be like?
Yeah,
Down the stretch, what can you go that far with guys that have been around? Experience is really important. Knowing how to win when it matters is super important. The culture that is still in Pittsburgh because those guys have been there so long, and Sid and Gino do such an amazing job like upholding that. And some of the other Latang, some of the other guys that have been there a long time. I mean, they definitely have a shot. I mean, you just can't discount the caliber of players they have. They need to get Chris Kunitz back, is what they need.
yeah, they do. Yeah,
Everyone
Cooney.
needs a Chris Kunitz. People ask me often, like, who's the player that like you'd want to start your team with? Like in a lot of ways, it's Chris Kunitz. Like people don't understand how hard that guy was to play against and how he could complement any line, and kill penalties, and just how incredible he was just in the way that he just led by example, the way that he played. I mean, he's such a heart and soul guy, but like so much talent, so much like work ethic, just like nasty to play against, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I think maybe that's what the Toronto Maple Leafs are trying to do with Revo going up to Toronto. Maybe try to bring that mix. I know he's not a first line guy, but maybe change the culture in that room a little bit.
The game, it's the wrong guy. I hate to say it,
Yeah,
it's the wrong guy. And the Chris Kunitz of the world are few and far between.
yeah,
The Tom Wilsons of the world are few and far between right now. They really
yeah,
are. The guys that can play with the big dogs, but like can also like inflict some hurt. That guy is the most valuable player in the league right now. I mean, that's, if I'm a GM, like that's the guy I'm looking for, the heart and soul guy that, like, because like I said earlier, like everybody has better skills now than they had in the 90s.
yeah.
Like the game is more skilled, the game is more organized. The teaching fundamentals are better than they've ever been. The players come up having trained a certain way, having understood how to play the game, doing skill development like the Europeans and the Russians did back in the 80s, and we do that now with all of our players. I mean, the proficiencies are there, the equipment is good, everyone can shoot with these sticks. I mean, they load so easily, and they almost fire the puck for you. So in that regard, like you can like, I'd be on the hunt for that player that's just got that edge. I'd honestly fill 4 lines with him. I really would, because you can get a lot done with that player if you got a bunch of them.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
you mentioned the culture before, and Pittsburgh's got it. And you mentioned the culture New Jersey's got. I can see it now with the Heishers, the Hughes, the guys, the way Tommy Fitzgerald's doing everything up there, and the culture that was set with the guys you played with. It's just like you said it before. The game's in such a good shape, and hopefully it can evolve even more. And your company's doing that off the ice as well as on the ice. Got to look good, play good, right, and feel good, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's an exciting time to be part of hockey. I feel honored that Verbero is at the forefront of things. I feel excited to see what tomorrow brings. I feel eager to move with the landscape to make sure that we don't stagnate like the other brands have done. And then it's just put one foot in front of the other. Have a great day, stack them one on top of the other, and hopefully at the end of time, you've done something meaningful.
Absolutely. Andy Sutton, thank you so much for joining the Full Press NHL podcast today. Hey, real quick, where can people look you up or get more information about the company?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's verbero.com. It's verbero.com. And then the lifeline really is team@verbero.com. You want to send an email, you want to find out about our custom program, you want us to start working with you, you want to sell with us, whatever it may be, look us up. You need more information, you want to book a meeting to talk about it, talk about your program, talk about your podcast, talk about bringing in, more revenue streams, whatever it is. Team@verbero.com is the lifeline, and my customer service team is incredible, and they triage all those inquiries and manage all those expectations and wants and needs, and we're open-minded, we're partnership focused, and we're every day we try to perfect the brand in such a way that we make it really easy to be our partner. And that's really the basis of a great partnership, right? Do as much heavy lifting as you can to support the other side. I mean, that's what a partnership is, and we're that's definitely a big part of our brand DNA.
That's perfect, guys. Check it out, man. Verbero Hockey, Andy Sutton, 16-year NHL veteran here on the Full Press NHL podcast. I've been your host, Jim Biringer, the voice of Full Press Hockey. Get it iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, as well. It'll be up on the Full Press Coverage YouTube page as well. Check it out there. Andy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Right on, man. It's my pleasure.
Hey, guys, enjoy the off season. Hockey's right around the corner.